OnlyFans model Courtney Clenney takes a plea deal in the 2022 fatal stabbing of her boyfriend, Christian Obumseli.
The question is, which side of the story do we believe? Is Miss Clenney herself a victim of allegedly domestic violence and or some type of assault, which is the allegation, or is she the villain?
Christian's cause of death was a stab to the chest.
In this episode, we walk you through the crime scene inside that Miami apartment and show you key evidence a jury will never see.
Is he dead?
Sit down.
Okay, no, I'll sit down. I just, you scared me.
Sit down.
He's not dead, is he?
It's a dramatic reaction. Now, the question is there orchestrated drama or is it sincere and natural?
So what do you think really happened inside that high-rise apartment? A criminologist is here to help break down all the case evidence, and what she has to say might surprise you. Thank you for being here. Please hit the like and subscribe. I'm Matt Johnson, and this is Justice. Here to help break it all down and answer the question, did Courtney Clenney get away with murder, or is she actually a victim in all of this? We have Dr. Debbie Goodman, criminologist, author, professor, and a friend of the program. Thank you for being here. What's your initial thoughts as we head into this sentencing?
Thank you, Matt. Always a pleasure to join you. You know, it's such a high-profile case. It's been going on for several years, and soon it may indeed be brought to closure with this plea hearing. So if we really look at both sides, and I think it's important to do so, clearly Mr. Obumseli, he is the direct victim. He is the decedent. Now, the question is, which side of the story do we believe? Is Miss Clenney herself a victim of allegedly domestic violence and or some type of assault, which is the allegation, or is she the villain? Was she purposefully and with intent? I would probably yield on the planning and premeditation part simply because she was not and is not charged with first-degree murder. And again, just to remind the viewers who are very adept at these issues, but second degree, as we take a look at this in the state of Florida, is more of the crime that is considered heat of passion. So I think that is the appropriate crime, at least in this case.
So let me go through some of the case evidence that has been released, and there's a lot, and get your take and what you're seeing as a professional when we look through some of these. So let's start with some of the newly released crime scene photos, and then we'll switch to the body camera. So let me put this on your screen. So this is a picture of her. This is standard, right? Anytime there is a suspect, anytime there is a death, the person is photographed. So what is sticking out to you? Obviously, she has some of her false nails that are missing, right? So what does this show you, if anything?
Well, again, you know, she looks perhaps, let's say, disheveled. But if she was involved, which is what we believe to be the fact patterns, you know, when I say the fact patterns, of course, the 5 W's and the H, the who, what, when, where, why, and how, she is accused of the death of her boyfriend. And so if we're looking at her, she appears to be certainly distraught, emotional. The lack of the nails may suggest some type of assault. You know, again, being familiar with Florida law, it is not uncommon also for there to be, in a domestic circumstance, a dual arrest. Now, clearly, it didn't happen because Mr. Obumseli is the decedent, but it is not uncommon in Florida when officers see perhaps both individuals with injury, they may arrest both.
So with these photos, it could have gone either way with the jury, right? It could show that she was also a victim and self-defense, but it could also show that there was an intent to kill with no attack. Is that correct? Or what are you seeing? What could a jury have seen from these?
Right. Well, if we could potentially pan back up to her face, you know, remember, she alleged that there was some type of strangulation. Now, I don't necessarily see anything that is glaring in terms of evidentiary issues to that effect. So that, for me, right away, because that was her allegation that there was an attempt at strangulation and that seemingly she was defending herself in the throes of, let's say, a domestic violence circumstance. But through my lens, I don't see that.
Now let me move over to all of the pictures from the apartment. And again, these are just a handful. And what they may show the jury if this had gone to a jury. What do you see as a criminologist? Do you see signs of a struggle? Do you see signs of a cleanup? What sticks out to you?
Yeah, well, clearly it's a grisly and gruesome crime scene because of the nature of the injury. You know, a knife attack certainly going to show the bloodshed, which is very unfortunate, and that's what we're seeing. But also, let's keep in mind too, you know, we don't know with certainty, did she herself potentially want to make the apartment look a little more, let's say with the pillows and such, a little more disheveled, as if some way, somehow there was this altercation. Remember too, Matt, you know, what's interesting about this apartment, I'm familiar with the area. I did research about this, and it's considered, you know, a high level condo in terms of many of these residences are in the ballpark of $1 million. So it's a very, you know, luxurious area and neighborhood, but also it's a smaller footprint. This is not any type of expansive mansion, let's say. It's a 1,600 square foot apartment. And therefore, you know, I might want to challenge mildly, if we may, the allegation of, you know, she was seemingly 10 feet away and then threw the knife. I mean, was she some type of ninja warrior to do this? Because 10 feet away would suggest to me that she was not directly in harm's way, that she could have, if she felt some way, somehow threatened by her boyfriend, she could have gone into the bathroom for safety, call 911, go into the bedroom. And interestingly, about this condominium development, they had a balcony. And so 10 feet away would suggest to me that one could go to the balcony, scream for help. You know, it's a very kind of young, chic neighborhood, if you will. And there are a lot of restaurants on the ground levels, and there's shopping. So it's a very populated area. It's not like it's in isolation. So that, for me, is a little bit of a red flag when we really look at the footprint of the crime scene and her allegation. 10 feet is a lot of space to go for cover.
Yeah, prosecutors were saying that she was the aggressor and during the fatal confrontation, and the defense was saying again that she was a victim of a long-term domestic abuse situation and that she was defending herself. The defense had hoped to bring in an expert. It might have been a battle of the experts with this particular trial had it gone to a jury, and it was very unique because they were going to bring a expert knife thrower to demonstrate, or they had hoped to demonstrate the angle and how it could have been thrown at a distance, and how it could have been an accidental death while defending herself.
I did not stab him once. I just threw it because I was scared.
You threw a knife?
Threw it.
You threw
it from like across the room. I did not, like, I was scared.
An expert knife thrower launching knives at a pig carcass to demonstrate that Clenney acted in self-defense after she allegedly fatally stabbed her boyfriend in April 2022 in a Miami apartment.
Her self-defense is credible, and the actions she took that night were necessary to save her own life.
There's no way that you would, if you throw a knife, that the knife is going to land so deep in a downward position.
So very unusual defense that would have played out here. I do have a video to show you how the state attorney was framing it. And I think that the knife in itself, just seeing the death weapon, we can't call it a murder weapon because we don't know if it was a murder. The death weapon was pictured and covered the way that it was. But let me play this for you and get your thoughts on how this might have impacted a jury.
The chief medical examiner of Miami-Dade County determined that Christian's cause of death was a stab to the chest. The medical examiner has indicated that the fatal knife wound, which entered Christian's chest, was the result of a forceful downward thrust penetrating to the depth of over just 3 inches.
Okay, so I'm envisioning that that would have been what was said at the opening statement for the jury, that they would have peppered that throughout the state's case in chief and how they framed it. How powerful would that have been for the jury to hear?
Very, Matt. I think that in and of itself is extremely powerful. Why? Because it is important, the laws of physics, the entry point, the type of wound, how did it manifest, how did it come to be? And so when we have the analysis from the expert, the ME, who is saying there is a 3-inch wound, it just, for the lack of even scientific evidence, and we just go with logical reasoning, which is also very important for jurors to just think logically and go through the steps, it would feel and seem illogical that from 10 feet away, this projectile, let's say, and as you suggest, and I like your term, death weapon, it doesn't appear to line up. And alignment is very important because, as we know, all the cases we've covered and your viewers have been part of, people lie, right? People can lie and create whatever scenario they want to because there's really no counter scenario from the person. The counter scenario becomes the evidence. And as far as I'm concerned, DNA and evidence does not lie, but people do.
Yeah, and now we're going to go over some of the video evidence that may have been presented before a jury. Again, not going to a jury trial at all in this particular case. And before we get into what has really been circulating the internet with the elevator video, I want to show you first the video from in the apartment when she is first confronted by police after the stabbing.
Baby, wake up. Okay.
Get up.
Please go. Please
Listen, get him up. Get up right now. You can jump at the floor. I'll help him out. Get up.
Oh, no. No, I can't let this, okay?
Back over.
Wait, it wasn't. They won't tell me if he's okay.
Sit down.
No, that's not a body bag, is it?
Sit down. That's not a body bag. Sit down. Listen. Sit down.
Okay, no, I'll sit down. I just, you scared me.
Sit down.
He's not dead, is he? Covered in his blood because I'm trying to save him.
I understand that.
I'm trying to save him.
I understand that.
And if I don't, you can't, then
Okay.
what will I do with my
All right.
life? I need him. He's like my other half.
Let me just pause it right there. Any initial thoughts? Had a jury seen this, first off, it's really upsetting to see. It's also upsetting to see anybody with blood on them. But how do you take her reaction? What would an expert have said about her reaction? Does it appear normal, in shock? How would it be perceived by a jury?
Yeah, I think it's a dramatic reaction. Now, the question is there orchestrated drama or is it sincere and natural? So that's always a part of the equation. I don't think law enforcement mishandled at all the scenario. Why? Because some people may think if she herself is the victim, wow, how could they put her into handcuffs? But clearly that's part of protocol. They are coming in to a gruesome, grisly crime scene in which she, I believe, to them initially said that she did it. And therefore, they have to follow protocol because they don't know, is she still potentially a threat to herself and or to them? So that part is appropriate conduct on behalf of law enforcement. Now, again, there's been indication, whether it's fact or fiction, that she may have also experienced mental health issues. And if so, if she was on medication for what seemingly post-traumatic stress disorder, or there had been other indications through the years of just mental health compromise, may that have also led to her reactions and interactions toward police. But she didn't necessarily seem too upset, did she, in terms of her boyfriend being deceased, asking, is he okay? Well, clearly she'd have to know he's deceased, because by the time police got there, it's just too long. But again, they have to be the first responders and try to revive and resuscitate.
Let me play a little bit more, and these are portions selected by a news report from Channel 10 News in the area.
Obumseli, please.
Listen, sit down. Do me a favor, sit down. Do not
Why are
move.
you yelling at me?
Do not move.
Why are you yelling at me?
Do not move, sit
Okay,
down.
okay, but
We don't know what's going on. We don't know what happened.
I'm terrified
So
for him.
right now, yeah, don't worry. They're helping him. So just sit down. Don't move, okay?
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Courtney is begging to see him, but police explain she cannot go back inside because the apartment is considered a crime scene.
I'm covered in his blood because I'm trying to save him.
I understand that.
I'm trying to save him.
I understand that.
And if I don't, and you can't, then
Okay.
what will I do with
All
my
right.
life? I need him. He's like my other half.
Christian is bloody on the ground.
Okay, so right there, I mean, I think again, it could go either way for a jury. However, the attorneys want to frame it for their case, because if it is self-defense, she does love the person, and she is in shock, and she wouldn't have wanted them to die. But, or is it an authentic reaction as to what you were saying earlier?
Yeah, well, I think also, Matt, we need to know the backstory, although we won't know it in court because it's not going to trial. But I would like to know the history of this couple. And at least based on preliminary reports, it appears as though, and I know we'll see the clip from the elevator, but that in some of these instances, she herself was the aggressor. Now, whether it's hearsay or not also, but according to his family and his friends, there was indication of him through the years wanting to leave her because of the erratic behavior that she seemingly would display. And it wouldn't only be what the friends and family of Christian describe as abusive verbally, but it was also seemingly physically abusive from her to him.
Let me put that on our screen here, the video from the elevator. And I want to warn everybody, it's disturbing as well. So again, part of the question would have been, what would have been admitted if this went to trial and if this would have been seen by the jury? How damaging would this have been for the defense case?
Yeah, I think very damaging. Again, this is not the moment in time, of course, of verbal and or physical altercation leading up to Christian's demise and passing. But just this clip alone is, so profoundly disturbing. Yet I really don't see him at all being the aggressor. If anything, I think he's trying to defend himself and perhaps mildly, pushing her away, but not he himself at all striking him. But I've counted at least, 10 to 12 strikes here on her toward him. And that's very damaging.
The last piece of video that I wanted you to review was when she allegedly learns that he has passed. And this is the interrogation video. And as we know from covering trials from coast to coast all the time, you and I together, a lot of times these videos are presented during the jury trial. And I wanted to get your take on how she's reacting.
Christian is dead. Oh my God. This is not real, right? Okay. There's no fucking way. Christian died? Can I please have a hug? Am I allowed to do that in here?
Yeah.
No.
Calm down. Take deep breaths. Just take deep breaths. You're gonna be okay?
I need to hug my mom.
I'll talk I'll talk to your parents and get them over here.
I cannot be left alone in like a room by myself
You won't be.
after this. I just, no, that's not true. That's not real, right?
It is real.
Christian is dead.
Yes. Yeah, I know.
I know, I just can't believe it.
What do you think? Does that sound like a real response, a real normal reaction? What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciated what you said earlier about even if she killed him, she still loved him. But I think it might be, I'm leaning a little more toward the theatrics, recognizing she's in a room with detectives and they'll be noting everything, her nonverbal and verbal clues. Does she appear shocked? Perhaps. But unfortunately, Matt, so many of these cases that we take a look at here, defendants at some point realize now it's the rest of their lives, and whatever the actual truth is, only she and he would know, but he's passed and she now is potentially facing 20 plus years at the moment in time that she's interacting with these officers. But I'm yielding more on the side of a little more theatrics and a little more of an orchestrated response rather than the sincere emotion.
You know, she was an OnlyFans model. Take that as you want. Do you think that she is just used to performing for an audience? Do you think that that is something that would have continued at trial? Just a performance at the defense table? Do you think that she might have taken the stand?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I don't like to necessarily cast any judgment at all on victims and what
Of course
their
not.
professions are and or the defendants, but it does raise the interesting question. I would almost think that if it went to trial, I don't think the defense would put her on the stand simply because we know, theory versus reality. We want the jury to only stay within the framework and the wheelhouse of the 5 W's and the H. But clearly, if and when the prosecution were to mention her line of work, it may create a little bit of disdain and possibly disrespect among the jury, and that alone would be problematic for her and the defense.
It's kind of tricky though, right? Because it would have been a self-defense defense. And especially in Florida, usually we see defendants, it's only up to them, not their attorney, choosing to testify in their own defense and explain their actions, right? But that's interesting what you say. So in your experience and what you've seen here and, just out, so we don't have all the evidence, folks. You think that maybe this would have been a battle of the experts versus her testimony on the stand for the defense?
I think so, but I think probably of all of the issues that have been presented today and what potentially would have been presented in court, that the real key issue for me at the moment as a criminologist would have been that 3-inch penetration of the knife in a described way of force when the claim is there was a 10-feet window, which gives an individual enough time if they feel somehow their life is in jeopardy and they are defending their life, they have a moment in time to break away, to get away, to go into hiding. And that didn't happen. So that's the piece that's really curious to me.
Do you think that she's going to make a statement at sentencing, and what does that look like?
I think so, but again, without casting any judgment, we have to believe at some level that if somebody is pleading guilty, right, the thinking might be, not 100%, but might be, they were involved in something that perhaps was not really 100% not criminal, So therefore, really looking at all the options and weighing everything, I feel that if and when there's a plea, at least in this case, it may not be 100% as it was originally presented years ago, and that it is probably based on her own thinking as well as the interpretation of her defense counsel that the prosecution is coming in with a strong case.
Doctor, overall, are you surprised that this is ending after several years? She's been incarcerated since her arrest. Are you surprised that this is not going to a jury?
I'm actually not surprised, Matt. Why? Because again, all of the high profile cases that we cover, it feels like in many instances we're right on the cusp of the trial. And then what happens? We see these defendants taking the plea because they too realize and recognize the severity of what they're facing. So we look at Rex Heuermann, we look at Brian Koberger, and for me as a criminologist, not uncommon. I think also, again, best guess, we don't have any inside information on this, but best guess is the time served by Ms. Clenney will likely be a negotiating point and go toward her ultimate sentence once the plea is entered.
What is next for her life? So she has been incarcerated ever since her arrest. What does it look like after she's sentenced? Is she a type of person to go back out there and be a content creator again? What do you think that life looks like? Or is she someone that may try to just live off the grid and be quiet?
Right. I would choose the side of continuing to be the content creator. I think, again, based on your earlier statement that somebody involved in the type of work she's involved in does garner a lot of attention, a lot of interest, a lot of, people knowing who she is. And I think sometimes just in general, people who have been relevant want to continue to be relevant, because for them to become invisible or irrelevant is very painful. So I would almost put her in the category, even though the crimes we understand are different, but Casey Anthony continued to be a content creator, right? Even though she was acquitted. Gypsy Rose, who did serve time, she too becomes the content creator. And even Jessica Kent, very popular on TikTok after having gone through her own prison incarceration due to drug-related, weapon-related, but then went on social media to really talk about the experience and gained, hundreds of thousands of followers. So I would see the same with Courtney Clenney.
Yeah, and our thoughts go out to Christian Obumseli's family that have had to endure this. There is no resolution into whether or not this was a murder or a self-defense. They have agreed to the terms, whatever they are, of the plea deal, so they don't have to live through that trial. But truly, they are the victims that have a forever life sentence.
Yes, Matt, so well said. And you know me, and that's my philosophy too, that although we tend to spend, time and attention on the individual doing the perpetrating of the act, but we always want to be uppermost with respect and remembrance of the victims. And as we know, the victimology here is far-reaching. Mr. Obumseli himself, his family, his friends, and even society. It's just a horrendous situation for this young person to no longer be with us.
Dr. Debbie Goodman, criminologist, author, and professor, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Matt. Always a pleasure.
If you or someone you know is in an abusive relationship, please call the hotline below. There is help out there, or tell someone you trust. Our thoughts go out to Christian's family during this process. Again, they are the forever victims in all of this. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Please hit the like and subscribe, because I'll keep you updated on this case and others. And in the meantime, please take care of yourself. I'll see you next time.